All right, homework 35, we are going to construct the vector 1.8a plus 1.4b, having an initial point of b. So again, we're going to use these tools on Alex to move our vectors and scale them. What you're going to do is take the first vector, move it so its end point is on p. So in this case, I'm going to move the end point of a to p. So I'm going to grab this vector, I'm going to pull it over here. It's still going to be the same size. I'm just going to move it over. Then I'm going to scale it to whatever it says. In this case, 1.8. So I'm going to stretch that vector out so it's a little longer, and so now it's going to say 1.8a. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to move the end point of b to the end of a. So I'm going to grab this vector, it's going to plop over here like this, it's still going to say 1.0b. Then I'm going to scale it to whatever that says there. In this case, scale to 1.4. So I'm going to drag that out so it's just a little bit longer, and now it's going to say 1.4. Final part, you're going to draw the vector from P to the end of B. So I'm going to take a different tool, it's just going to look like the vector, I'll show you in a minute, and draw from P to the end of B, and that's what it's going to look like when you're done, is this vector right here that I have drawn in black. So I'm going to show you one on Alex here, so I'm going to clear this out and go over here to Alex, and just using the one that they have here so you can see me using the tools. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move vector B because it says 0.7b first. So I grab this tool with the hand, I grab vector B, I put it right on point P. So now I've got 1.0b endpoint on P. I'm going to scale that to 0.7. So I'm going to grab this middle tool with the two arrows, grab the end, push that back until you're at 0.7. If you click in the gray area, that turns off your tools and you can see what you've got. So right now I've got 0.7b. I'm going to add the 0.8a. So I'm going to grab the move tool, I'm going to grab that, I'm going to put it on the end of b, not on P, on the end of b. So I move that over there. So I've done B, I'm adding A to it. A's got to be scaled to 0.8. So I grab my scaling tool, I smush that back until it says 0.8a. Click in my gray box. So I've got B, I've got A, B is 0.7, A is 0.8. I'm going to grab this end tool, which is to draw your final answer. And on your final answer, you're going to start at P, and you're going to go to the end of your second one, which in this case was the A, and your graph is going to look something sort of like that. If I check that, it says, hey, look at that. So going back to the ones we have on our paper, I go to number 2. Number 2, I'm going to do 0.9t plus 0.5s. So I'm first of all going to move t2 to p. So I'm going to take this vector, I'm going to pull it up here, it's going to say 1.0t. I'm going to scale that. I'm going to scale this one back to 0.9t. So I'm going to push it back just a little ways, and so now my vector here will say 0.9t. Then I'm going to move s to t. So I'm going to grab this vector here, I'm going to put it on the end of t. It's still going to say 0 or 1.0s. I'm then going to scale it to 0.5. So I'm going to take this end, push it in. So now my vector is at 0.5. Then I'm going to draw from P to S. So point P to the end of S would draw right here, and that's going to be my triangle there. My little extra marks where I scaled are not really going to show up there, and it's going to look something like this. This side will be labeled 0.9T, this side will be labeled 0.5S, and then I have my vector drawn from P to S. So on the next one, we are going to start with vector B. So I'm going to move B to P. It's going to kind of run into it, but I'm going to move it anyway. It says 1.0B once I move it. I want to scale it to 1.7. So in this case, I'm going to add on to it, make it longer, and now it's going to say 1.7B. Then I am going to grab A. I'm going to put A on the end of that. So this is going to point down this way. It's going to start by saying 1.0A, but then I'm just going to scale it. So when I scale it, I'm going to scale it to 1.1, which makes it a little bit longer. Once this says 1.7B, that says 1.7A. I'm then going to draw from P to the end of A, and I'm going to have my drawing. Just for fun, I'm going to go back and do one more on Alex with my tools. So you can see again how they work. So I'm going to hit more practice here. So I'm going to start with 0.8C. This is my vector C. So I'm going to grab the move tool. I'm going to take C, plop it right on P. Once I've moved it, I'm going to scale it. It's at 1, I want it at 0.8. So I'm going to grab the end, push it in till it's at 0.8. By the way, I got to click to set it. Clicking in my box then, I'm going to add the D vector. So I'm going to take my hand tool, move D to the end of C, then I'm going to scale it to 1.3. So I'm going to pull it longer till it says 1.3. I'm going to click. Now I'm going to finish drawing my vector. I'm going to take the vector tool, starting at P, ending on the D. And that's going to be my drawing.